Judgecast.
Welcome to the Season 8, Episode 3, The Long Night. Thrown down for Game of Thrones with myself, Joe Bowden, and this guy,
J. Taylor.
This is in fact Judgecast Thrown Down, because I didn't actually mention
You didn't know.
who we are, but I'm assuming if you've clicked the thing, you know who we are.
Well, I'd like to think so. We are doing weekly thrown downs after every Game of Thrones. We have literally just pressed stop on The Long Night. Joe, what? I mean, what?
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 I'd like to just explain
Yeah.
that this week, like most other weeks, we've done this in true Game of Thrones fashion, and we watch just like Cersei would, with a bottle of red.
Oh, yeah.
So, just so you know.
It's... I'm amazed. I don't know. Right. Not wanting to get into it because it's a totally different podcast.
Oh, hang on. We are going to get into it, and there will be spoilers.
All the spoilers.
Do not spoil the end game, but
No.
do spoil the Game of Thrones once you've watched it.
But that's what I'm about to say, is not to spoil the end game, but to have end game come out last week and then this episode, specifically this episode, come out now. Because I feel like this has been building.
Do not spoil the end game.
I'm moving on from
and
Endgame.
do not make this an end game podcast.
I'm moving on from Endgame right now onto Game of Thrones, of saying this episode specifically has been building for it has been building the entire fucking series, because the very first thing you see ever on screen in Game of Thrones is the White Walker killing the wildlings, and the wildling running to the wall, and then Sean Bean killing the person that left the Black Watch, the Night's Watch. That's our entrance into this world, is a White Walker.
We've come full circle,
and we finally have, at the end of last episode, we know that they are outside Winterfell, and we knew, even though we've remained completely spoiler free, that this is going to be a big showdown.
I think I made that quite clear in last week's episode.
Yeah.
We were expecting to have an episode that was entirely battle led, which I have to say made me a little apprehensive, because I'm not a huge fan of battle scenes in anything. Like, even in like Lord of the Rings, I'm just like, who's fighting who?
Yeah.
What happened there? Where did they stab them, or did they stab that? Well, it's really hard to follow battle scenes.
I agree. Yeah.
In general, unless they are very, very well executed, and it's so hard to do that, and especially on something this scale.
And even if you execute it well, it's still hard to follow, because if you execute it well, and I'm kind of thinking of the Omaha Beach opening of Saving Private Ryan, like, that is done so well because it disorients you in the way that we would imagine people who landed on the beaches on D-Day would have felt. Like, just no idea what the fuck's going on, bullets whizzing everywhere. And that does that very effectively. This was far more impactful than I ever imagined a fantasy dragon/zombie war would be. Like,
at times, it felt almost like an art house approach.
Yeah.
Can we just say, like, well done to the real star of this week's episode, which was the composer.
He has been... Is it...
I've no idea what their name is, but wow, this week's music was absolutely on point. Which is weird, because obviously this is probably, I'm assuming it's the show with the biggest budget, or at least one of the biggest budgets.
It's going to be up there.
And it chose a really different way of showing a battle, because a lot of that, you could have said, they made that decision to save money, but they didn't, because also it still would have cost a lot. Like, those were beautifully shot scenes, some of those. The decision to have the snow falling with the fire, obviously it's called A Song of Fire and Ice. But to have that created, and you were the one who pointed out that it looks like they're in hell.
At some points, it was...
And it lent this light and this weird, eerie feeling, which kind of made it beautiful. It kind of felt like a Renaissance painting at points. It was very odd, like not odd in a bad way, but what is the word I'm looking for? A surprising choice.
That's it. Everything was a surprising choice, and it's exactly at the first point of the battle where the Dothraki go off in this triumphant kind of.
Oh, the Dothraki!
They've been given this powerful like fire, and everyone's kind of lit by it, and everything else had been very dark to the point where we actually had to turn our lights off because we were worried that we weren't really catching her faces.
It was still daylight when we pressed go.
It was actually. But yeah, and then that beautiful way that they showed the despair of fighting this army, of just the lights going out and the talk, and I was just like, it's so simple. And you're expecting that first moment of the battle to be horses v horses and this kind of massive thing, and it was just these little lights going out, and I was just like, that is so clever to completely, and this
so
whole
powerful.
Yeah, this whole episode subverted my expectations every 5-10 minutes.
I feel like I'm about to really say his name wrong. Sapochnik, I want to say.
I don't know. Yeah, and I don't
Something
know
like
how
that.
to say the composer's name. It's Raymond Djawadi. Raymond Djawadi.
Okay.
And yeah, so just going back, like that score throughout was.
That score was beautiful, but the director, I think that's the first one he's done this season.
He
did a lot in season 6 and 7.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I can understand why you would probably just need the whole time dedicated to that episode. Like that was so complex.
The scale of that production.
Obviously, every episode is difficult to direct, but that was like so complex.
Like, I can't. The level of detail throughout that battle was just mind-boggling. Like the production, and yes, there are moments where you know what you were saying about battle scenes, where there were moments where I kept going, fuck, that was Jaime's head that just got caved in. Like, there were so many moments where I thought I was seeing, and I think it was a purposeful choice. I think they were trying to get you literally on the edge of your seats. And I can shit you not, listeners, Joe and I, the whole way through the episode, but by that final piano-led moment that lasts about 10 minutes, when the piano starts, we were sat bent forward on our seats. My mouth dropped. It's amazing. That is like such an achievement. And bearing in mind, there were maybe 10 lines spoken for the entire 80-minute episode.
Yeah, however many it was very few comparatively. This is a show that's known for its talking, you know?
There was no monologues. The discussions were brief. You know, there were, I'm not going to say it balanced. Like, Game of Thrones has been quite good previously of balancing a bit of brevity and a bit of stuff. It didn't do it at this episode. There were a couple of kind of nods with Tyrion and Sansa, like you were the best of my husband.
But they were very brief.
But they were not. They weren't trying to lighten a mood. It was no. We are really fucked.
I thought actually the introduction of bringing that little girl in last week really worked this week, because like seeing I'm guessing 6-year-old's face be that determined, like she was actually really well cast.
She was, yeah.
The way she was sat there, just like I've got responsibility and I'm doing this. I was told. Seeing on a small child's face almost kind of made that scene, like the first scene in the crypt, kind of bring it home a bit of like, like this is really serious. Like even the kids are serious.
And it so again, the Mormon, the
Queen Mormon, is it Queen or Lady Mormon?
Lady of Mormon, and to put that real initial moment in her hands of facing down the giant, like it's not even just a zombie, it's a fucking giant zombie, like, and hearing her bones crack and her body break,
but her still being able to do something
Yeah.
huge, like a massive effect.
But
And I really like that. What that said was, it doesn't really matter how old or how big you are, you can still have a massive impact.
yeah.
And as a rather diminutive stature woman, that was quite nice.
But yeah, it's left me kind of shell shocked from watching it. Like, I was so on the edge of my seat for 80 minutes that we usually come off the back of it. And again, you know, we're usually focusing mainly on the dialogue, on the writing, on the especially for the last couple of seasons. And I feel like this swept me up in such an interesting way. And a lot of the touch points I feel like we've seen in, so there were definite moments and nods towards like Helm's Deep from the Two Towers, like that Peter Jackson way of framing the battle, of cutting to the quieter moments, so you had the crypt stuff, but then you had that really interesting choice of having this horror movie bit with Arya in the middle where she's stuck in the library, and it was like, what? I don't know what you're doing. Like, you're completely, and you know, there should be a part of me going, so what? We're in the middle of a battle and now we've got this, but I didn't. I was just swept up by this really effective way of showing that they were not just this horde of mine, like they were. Oh, it was so clever.
What, the walkers?
The walkers, yeah. That they were.
But how were they in there? Because he hadn't risen the dead at that point. So were they people who'd managed to get into the castle and just sort of avoided the battle? That is just a little plot hole that I would like to have explained. I'm sure there is one, but I don't understand it yet.
I feel like
I hope there is one.
We're going down the route that Winterfell is like many traditional castles in England that have lots of different ways in, lots of different keeps and lots of secret passageways, and so that's how Arya is able to get around so effectively when other people.
Because she knows it so well.
She knows it so well.
Just like Jon as well, and
Yeah.
and Theon did to a degree.
And we've also now hit upon why it's taken 7 seasons for the Nightwalkers to get all the way here, because the Night King walks slow as fuck.
Fucking hell, he's like, he should get that looked into.
He took like 20 minutes to just walk across the bit with the tree and Bran. Like,
when him and his gang, him and his crew turned the corner, you were just like, that's a meme.
It's definitely,
and it's definitely like walk into the club, like struts.
But no, and I think again that's testament to the episode that so many moments in the last couple of seasons have left us, let's say, not engaged in our normal way. And I think this, even at those points, I was still so fully engaged. And so when you did have, I'm not going to say, I feel like it was very interesting in its death toll. So it very much kept it to second or, let's say, mainly third tier characters. You know, the friend from the Night's Watch, who, yes, has been in it. And
the friend.
We don't know his name.
Generic.
Yeah.
The friend. I was thinking we could do like a in memoriam.
In memoriam, yeah.
Section, because so I've jotted down who everybody who I can think of, who I'm pretty sure is dead. I mean, or definitely is dead, and who the ones who I remembered.
How the fuck did Podrick, Brienne, and Jaime survive? Because there were points where they were under mountains of zombies.
So I'm assuming they're also working on Night King time. Like, it's just really slow motion. Yeah, yeah.
And also, they are pretty good fighters, all three of them. So
yeah, but like, they were overrun. Like, I don't care how.
I think they really
I've seen 28 Days Later.
They really used Brienne's, so I can't remember, Gwendolyn Christie's amazing ability to stand out in every fight scene from her vocals and her hair and her stats, because there are just moments where you're going,
Who's that?
Brienne's in trouble again.
There she is.
And I'm sure like it was, but she really did well at like to kind of stick out in her.
Also, her battle cries are brilliant.
Amazing.
Yes. So, in memoriam, I feel like we should cue the Oscars
String.
string thingies. Although I don't want to. I don't want to undermine real
What's
people's
the Radio
deaths.
2?
Oh. Sir Jorah.
Oh, Jorah.
It's the first one I wrote down.
He died doing what he set out to do.
Yeah.
He
proved
has
his love. He proved his honour.
Yeah,
And that's
done
that's the end of the Mormont line, right?
oh yeah, that's everyone.
Mormonts are gone.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like Sir Jorah.
Night Watch guy friend we've mentioned.
Yeah,
He seemed nice, but and linked to him, we don't know. Is Samwell alive?
I mean, he seemed to survive every single attempt on his life. I wish he'd stayed in the fucking crypt because so many other people might have survived.
Well,
Had
I
they not
know.
been
How many people
saving
sacrifice
themselves?
themselves for Sam? Like, I'm sorry, but Sam, either fight or fuck off
Yeah,
because you're not playing the game, mate.
I think there's got to be a T-shirt. Fight or fuck off.
Fight off. Yeah, it's not fight or flight complex. It's fight or fuck off. Queen Mormont.
Oh.
Who we've already mentioned, but that was a wonderful death, though.
It was a wonderful death, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was going to get
The
emotional.
Dothraki, en masse, like
All
the
of the
whole, I
Dothraki.
believe. I think the whole of the Dothraki are dead.
and all of the Unsullied.
I'm getting
Oh,
there.
sorry.
Jesus, is
Sorry.
it more
I thought you were just being
Morian?
really like.
But they went first.
Only the long-haired guys.
The Dothraki.
Yeah.
Yes, the Unsullied. Apart from Grey Worm, I think might still be
we
alive.
believe Grey Worm is still alive. We haven't seen him pass away.
But to see essentially the Spartans, let's face it,
Yeah.
they must be based on the Spartans.
nailed
Like,
that
they
kind
use
of-
hoplite warfare. Like every
Yeah.
one of their moves is all about honor and total. To see them fall,
It was pretty.
a bit of a shock.
It was pretty.
Yeah.
There were so many, as we were saying at the beginning of the episode, there were so many different modes of the war, and I think that was what was so clever of. And again, that's what reminded me of like Helm's Deep and Saving Private Ryan, of like really great battle scenes. Is it's not just the same people running and hitting each other. It's showing the strategy from both sides.
And different tactics,
Yeah.
different like types of warfare,
Exactly,
because
yeah.
different people are stronger in
The
different
quiet
things.
moments, and I think that's what was so clever in it. They showed with Tyrion's frustration of tactics meant fuck all from that first moment. Once the Dothraki went, the tactics were out, and the ice storm that suddenly renders the dragons pretty useless. Like it was really clever to show his frustration of I'm fucking useless because I want to be out there kind of guiding the next stage, and I might see something different. I thought that was a really clever little touch point there.
Going back to it's interesting you mentioned dragons, because I believe a second dragon died. John's dragon.
So I believe John was on. So she's on Dragar.
I don't.
Viserion was definitely
Was the ice
knight, and
dragon?
that's been ghosted. So yeah, John's other dragon.
John's dragon. Okay. The Lord of the Night's Watch.
Oh yeah, Beric Dondarrion. Beric Dondarrion.
Did you just make that up?
Beric Dondarrion?
It's
I don't know.
Is that a real name?
I'm pretty sure he's definitely called Beric.
Beric. Brilliant. What a great name.
Beric.
That was an honourable death.
I
thought he was very much he fought for himself and for his people. Like,
he's always been
like,
all
yeah, but I didn't think he was like I'll fight for Arya and Clegane. Like,
he's always kind of spoken the kind of, the code, you do things for the light and stuff, but
yeah. I guess I just didn't realise I didn't understand the code. Okay. Melisandre.
yes. I mean, let's just say they're very lucky she turned back up again at the beginning.
No, I think that was her plan.
But it was a really interesting reveal because, of course, we first see a hoof, expecting it for Night King. Like, of everyone that it was going to be in that moment, it was like, oh fuck! Like, so yeah, I enjoyed giving her a send off, and did she say all this to Arya, or is she the faceless one as well? Because I can't remember her and Arya having scenes together.
Well, all I can really vaguely remember is Melisandre taking Gendry.
Yeah.
And I think they did have like a conversation.
So it must have been that episode where they were with...
I don't think the seven-faced... What's this face? Was ever Melisandre.
No.
As far as I can remember.
Okay.
And the last possible that I managed to note down, but I may have missed a few, is Arya dead or alive?
Well, it's interesting because they kind of played...
Dead or alive?
They played that moment quite similar to Lady Mormont of
There's a lot of mirroring
going
there.
for it, being grabbed, and we definitely heard some kind of cracking as Arya
Her neck was being
crushed.
Crushed.
Scrunched and crunched. It's but then she obviously stabs him like Lady Mormont, and because that's all we've seen, she might be dying. But I feel like that would be. I think it would be a leap. I think what they're saying with this episode is we're not killing anyone major at this point, because they had a lot of points where they could have done.
Because what this is essentially leading to must be...
Let's now move... Yeah.
All I can see happening... Not all I can see, but what I can only kind of think happens next is a kind of a siege of King's Landing. Because why else is Varys still alive?
Well, yeah. And everyone's like...
Varys needs to be alive for his little birds and for his machinations.
Yeah.
Like,
and some of the only lines of dialogue this week were Varys, Sansa and Tyrion talking about... Sansa mentioned about
them helping,
being committed to the Dragon Queen, and so there's obviously still going to be this. Let's say it's a play between three women. It's Sansa, Dany, and Cersei. And Dany's now down to one quite ill dragon, I would imagine, having been.
Oh my god!
Completely. That was the moment that got you.
Yeah.
You squealed when he was being taken down.
So, and I had this with Viserion as well. For some reason, I react far more emotively whenever the dragons, who are not real life things, get hurt than when, like, any of the humans. Like, when I saw Ghost running into battle.
Where the fuck did he go? Was he just killed?
I think he's gone. I think he's gone.
I mean, he did last a lot longer than any of the direwolves. So.
Yeah, but we should have seen that. I know that he got expensive to keep photoshopping in,
He did,
but it doesn't mean that.
He might still be. Like, he came back last time.
He might be. But yeah, the animals really upset me. I was really worried about the horses at the beginning as well. But they obviously, yeah.
I feel like we've got a really interesting. So we've got 3 more episodes now.
Yes.
And I believe they said that more than one would be feature length.
They said that they will all be over standard length.
Right.
So that's all over 45 minutes without ads.
Okay. So this was 80 minutes pretty much.
Yeah, we're practically movie length now.
And it... again, I don't want to mention a certain thing. It needed to be that long.
Yes, there's a story to tell.
You needed all those touch points with the characters. And oh my God, at a point of around 55 minutes, 60 minutes in, roughly when he's killed Jon's dragon, the Night King's got off, he's raised the dead, and he walks in, I genuinely thought they were going to cut it, because I could my kind of time sense was going...
Because he was walking so slowly as well.
Yeah.
So if it's taken that long to get there, it's going to take it forever to get across the fucking courtyard.
My inner clock was going, this is about an hour. And I was thinking, if you fucking cut it here, I would have been... I really wouldn't have coped. It needed to be wrapped up. It was its own condensed story. Yeah. And I'm down with the 80 minutes.
Oh, it worked. It totally worked. I suppose also it helped that we were prepared for that.
Yeah, but... Yeah.
You need to know how long something is before you go into it, because you need to wee.
Yeah. And also, it's called The Long Night. If they'd... if it had been 45 minutes, that wouldn't have been long.
Very long. I just realised we missed a... Theon.
Fuck. That actually got me.
Yeah, it was, but...
He has
It's like I repressed it immediately as soon as it happened.
He has been, because it was so interesting to have, like, when he was first in that first season. I think from a British viewing perspective, you're sat there going, "Oh my God, it's
Alfie Allen.
Alfie Allen and his dad,
Keith Allen.
So we'd had this kind of dynasty thing, and then it was I saw him in a picture with Lily Allen, and then
saw him at
now
Glastonbury.
he's grown so much over the year. Along with Sansa, I feel like he's had one of the most brutal and significantly character-defining arcs.
And I thought this was a really nice close to it though, because it was full circle, right? Like, we saw him pretend to burn the bodies of Brandon and Rickon, and then we saw him protecting Brandon at all costs.
And as you said,
and he's really good at fighting. Who knew?
He did.
Who knew?
Can I just point out how fucking annoying it must be to hang around with a soothsayer?
Oh my God, what an arse.
And
fuck off, Bran. Just tell me what you're doing.
Thank you. Well, no, are you thanking me for what I just did, or are you thanking me for something I'm about to do? No, it just winds you up so much.
Oh my God.
Stop knowingly saying
Bran's
things.
Bran's so selfish. He obviously knows he's going to survive.
So then let's talk about that final reveal.
Yes. So, you're talking about Night King arriving in the courtyard. We think he's about to come and kill Bran because he's killed Theon.
Yeah, and they've built up to...
And you think it's Jon who's going to come in.
They've been building up for the entire length of time that it's taken for the Night King to walk through Winterfell, that Jon's been running behind him and been waylaid by Viserion and all this other stuff.
Slight interjection there. If anyone could survive ice fire, it would be Jon, right? A, he's already died once.
Yeah.
B, he is the literal song of ice and fire.
And the Night King survived red fire, so I
don't mean literal, so he's not a song. He is the combination of ice and fire.
So does that mean the Night King's a Targaryen, by the way?
Must be, right? The blue eyes, he can survive fire and he can fly a dragon.
He essentially did what?
I thought he might have dead dragon eggs at one point.
Yeah, he essentially did what Dany did at the end of
season 1 or 2, yeah. Yes.
But yeah, so then we build up. It's making you think it's Jon Snow,
and you already think Arya's just sort of gone.
And I was swept up. I was totally swept up that it was going to be this kind of moment, and then even though we joked about this on the podcast not 2 weeks ago, saying, "Oh, it's obviously going to be Arya come in with her little gardening tool," and I remember saying, "Oh, it'll be Arya with her gardening tool will stop the Night King."
Well, we thought it could be for Viserion. We thought it was going to be for the dragon. That tool was going to.
So, and then she just comes out of nowhere and fucking does it. And
that was amazing.
We both whooped, and
it was so nice to be genuine. Oh God, this sounds so fucking up my own arse. It was just so nice to be genuinely surprised, only because we've had so many it could be this, it could be this, going on just outside of this podcast, just generally in life. Oh, maybe this happens. To have something completely take you unaware of oh fuck, I thought she was gone. That was great, and brilliant. What a great way to complete her whole training and her overcoming death. She knows the 7 faces of death, and then she killed death.
Yeah, and that's what Melisandre and now you look back at the episode, you go, they did spend an awful lot of time with Arya. They had her whole total fear, that she really sold that when she was running from the library.
That was great.
She properly sold the fear. As an actor, she has grown massively.
So much of this episode was really, really tense. Yeah, and very well done. But that was just wow,
edge of
up
your
there
seat.
with some of the best horror films.
And then Melisandre says to her, what do we do when we face death? So it's all there. It's all kind of built up and layered, and all of the things she said, green eyes, brown eyes, and blue eyes. So all of this foreshadowing has come full circle. How much of that is Ben Stiller? Not Ben Stiller.
Ben Stiller. How much of this is Ben Stiller? I mean, he's got fingers in a lot of pies.
George R.R. Martin. How much of it is George R.R. Martin?
Very easy to confuse Ben Stiller and George R.R. Martin.
Really?
Yeah.
How much of it is him and that foreshadowing, and how much of it would be interesting to see that. Was Arya always the going to be the killer of the Night's Watch?
Yeah.
Like, not Night's Watch,
The Night King.
Night King.
She's now a king killer.
Yeah.
Like Jamie.
Yeah, she is. Well, she's the king killer. She's the birth of summer. She's Persephone.
She's the birth of
She's
summer.
Persephone.
How is she Persephone?
Well, wasn't Persephone, when she came out, she was
oh,
the
it
spring.
would be. Yes, it was. Yeah. Oh,
She
yeah.
was the
nice.
rite of spring, wasn't she?
I learnt
That's Fruit in the Wolf.
I learnt a few lessons. Yeah. Oh, I did wonder where you were going with that. I just thought you'd let you get on with it. I learnt a few lessons this episode. Firstly, watching Daenerys in her great. I'm really, really pleased she had a tailor's whip up, a nice winter coat.
It's bloody cold out there in that blizzard.
However, don't wear pale colours to a battle.
No, it's quite difficult to
Get the blood stains out.
Yeah.
I mean, she's going to be scrubbing that for ages. That was my first thing I learnt. We've already mentioned that the Night King was a Targaryen. That was something I learnt.
Yeah.
Something else I learnt is that spells take a long time.
They're not effective.
J.K.
rush.
Rowling taught me that you could just say Expelliarmus
Yep, damn.
and win.
Yeah, but she didn't have a wand.
Oh, do you think that's what she just think she didn't really graduate? She didn't take her
No.
owls, right? That took fucking ages. In that time, could have entered the castle.
Don't even.
And one other thing I felt like I learnt. I thought I learnt something else. Maybe not. Maybe that was all my lessons.
I learnt that Game of Thrones still has a few surprises up its sleeve.
Yes.
And that has been really, really nice, because I know we've come across as potentially quite critical during season 7.
Potentially. Only potentially.
Only potentially. But
Definitely.
again, I'm not meaning to talk about other cultural things happening at the moment, but it's an amazing time to live whilst these things are happening, whilst these big, amazingly talked about show. Even people that aren't watching Game of Thrones are talking about the fact that these Game of Thrones things are happening. Front page news is it's huge, and you've got the MCU happening. You've obviously got the saga, the Skywalker saga, coming to a close later in the year, and for those things to still be able to deliver. And this episode for me really, really showed why we sit down and watch this every week, and why we get excited, and why we want to talk about it with our listeners, with people in the pub, with people at work, with friends, family. It's really, really good when it's good. Like, it's
and
great.
That's why it's been so good to stick around for. Like, through the not so good episodes, to go have this and last week's ones, and just go, oh, yeah, that's the show I love. It's been really great to see it back on form.
And realise that, from a character building perspective, there was reason to the madness of some of those Arya episodes in season 7, where I think most viewers were sat there going, really? We're doing another chase through a marketplace and knocking over oranges?
More training.
And it felt a bit laborious, and it felt a bit... And so when you get a payoff as impactful as that, as powerful and as kind of punch the air moment, that's why we watch this, and that's why hats off, as we said at the beginning of this episode, to the director, the production design, everyone involved, and especially the score, because wow, I'm going to be listening to that tomorrow. It just, everything involved really seemed to be firing on all cylinders. And
I think it was interesting, and this is the last thing I have to say, because I have a lot of thoughts. It's interesting that you said that it's really interesting to live in a time with such huge cultural happenings, for want of a better word. Yeah. Because we also live in a time of other huge things happening, and I felt for a while that the White Walkers kind of represent the onslaught of climate change. Yeah. And there is a little once you kind of like get used to that feeling, and you just kind of like accept that, seeing the Night King be destroyed was like, makes you feel a little bit hopeful.
Yeah.
There was definitely some optimism in this episode, despite all the horrificness. And we need to have big cultural things happening right now because we're living in times of huge shit happening.
Yeah.
So we need to mimic that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Culture does reflect real life, so it's important. And I'm really glad that they're doing that.
Yay. Absolutely. And we could keep talking about this for hours, and we
could go for another however long. I don't even know how long we've been talking for.
It's the type of thing though where it really impacts us watching it, and coming off the back of it and recording straight away is great in some ways, but then I know that it's the type of thing that we're gonna, you know, later in the week, just one of us will talk to each other. Oh my God, do you remember? Like, and just there's so much to unpick, and there's so much to be excited for next week, because now we've got 3 episodes where we genuinely don't have any clue where the fuck it's going to go. Except...
It's got to go to King's Landing.
Yeah, except, I mean...
Because Cersei's armed herself as well. She knew it was coming.
Dany's got a dragon, Cersei's got a mountain.
I know Cersei's also got all those armies.
I know everyone's looking for the Clegane Bowl, which will be the Hound versus the Mountain. But
I don't want to see.
I don't want that. I want to see Dragon versus Mountain.
Like, I understand it will happen, but I don't think I need to see it. No. Basically, if I could never see the Mountain again, I would be quite happy.
I'm done with the Mountain.
It makes me feel a little
Especially
bit
now we're done with zombies. It's like, right, can we get rid of him as well? We don't need any more zombies. Like,
yeah. There is one more thing. I know I said my last thing, but I've got another one.
Mm-hmm. I'm very used to you saying this is the last thing and then it not being the last thing.
You saying I talk too much?
No, I like hearing you.
So during the thing when we saw the Night King was hovering above Winterfell, I was like, well, why didn't he just fucking destroy Winterfell whenever? Like, he could have done this hours ago. And I realised, like, this guy likes drama. He really wanted his moment. What a dick.
He's definitely a Targaryen.
What a drama Night King.
He's definitely a Targaryen. Danny's done that, like, every single season. Waited till the perfect moment and then dragon.
Yeah, well, she did it tonight. She could have killed loads more.
They were pretty ineffectual.
Before the blizzard started. Anyway. Plot holes aside. Not plot holes, no, they're character flaws aside.
We will be back next week for another roundup of I don't even know.
Another thrown down.
The most talked about show on television. I think we can definitely give it that at the moment.
Definitely can. It's been really good to watch this episode. I've really enjoyed also analysing it afterwards because I'm remembering everything. That's the red wine kicking in.
But let us know your thoughts.
Yes, let us know your thoughts, and also, get in contact. And if you've liked what you've heard, also leave us a review on Apple iTunes or Apple Podcasts. That's what they call it these days.
Yep,
that's what the kids are calling it. Thanks so much for letting us ramble on about this show.
Bye.